Hello, everyone. I want to welcome and thank you for joining us on our webinar today. So today we're going to be discussing the importance of GIS in dissemination of statistical data in national portals. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Linda Peters today and the rest of our presenters to introduce themselves and officially get us started. Linda?
Yeah, thanks so much, Kelly. Really great to be here today with everyone. Again, my name is Linda Peters. I am in global business development here at Esri. I've been with Esri for 17 years. My focus is on working with national governments and specifically with national statistical offices. So really great to be here today. We've got a lot to talk to you about, but I want to introduce the team first. Deepti Kochhar, please.
Thanks, Linda. My name is Deepti Kochhar. I am practice lead for global development at Esri in the professional services team. Been with Esri for over 22 years. I've been supporting statistical agencies since for last 15 plus years, working with U.S. Census Bureau, Philippine Statistical Agency, and many other international statistical agencies globally. Dominic?
My name is Dominic Fabulic. I am a senior technical consultant and system architect with Esri Professional Services in Rotterdam office. I've also been with Esri for more than 20 years, and I worked with many statistical agencies and other government agencies. Nicole?
Hi, yeah, my name is Nicole Talisai. I'm an associate consultant in the Esri Professional Services Department. I'm also a member on DP's global development team, so helping support statistical agencies as well.
Great. Well, thanks, everybody. We have a really good, strong team here today. So just to give you a sense of what we're going to go over, we're going to start with an overview of why dissemination is important in official statistics. And from there, we'll look at the importance of hubs in dissemination, because we will be showing you how we've used Arcgis Hub to do this work. We'll have a couple of polls as we go, so just to make you aware of that, and we will do a live demonstration. So we're going to walk through then how we built everything that you've seen here. Dominic will give us a look behind the curtain, if you will, and then we'll leave you with some resources before we open it up for Q&A. Now, just a moment about why this work is so important, because we are committed to this community, and we saw a need for additional tools to help make your work easier, particularly in the area of dissemination. In this 2020 census round, we focused our work on building a lot of new resources to help you, from a new book, new learning pathways, and even programs like the Statistical Modernization Program that helps get resources and access to technology into resource-constrained countries. And most recently, we focused on building these new tools. So we want to tell you where we're headed with these new innovations. And to do that, I'm going to invite my colleague, Deepti Kochhar, who's been leading the teams, the work here at Esri, to give us an overview. So Deepti, I'm going to throw it over to you.
Thank you, Linda. Esri has been engaged with many countries, as well as UNFPA and World Bank and other agencies for the 2020 round. And we have been working even with US Census Bureau for that actively. And working, supporting countries in integrating statistical data and geospatial information together as they look to modernize their work. And we have realized there is a lot of issues that have come up relating specifically to data dissemination and the pattern that are followed. Many countries are now beginning to look at this data sharing and understanding the impact of it. So Census Bureau, did all of their data collection digitally, and we have been helping them for a lot of things that they are doing. And so let me just go into the dissemination sites that they have found. There are lots of ways people are disseminating data. They're disseminating data with PDFs. They're sending tabular data. They're putting infographic outside, or even websites with applications and maps, story maps, dashboards. But we all can agree that this way joining the data with spatial data and statistical data is really valuable. This is providing users a better understanding of the data than just looking at tables. And for decision makers, just looking at tabular data is not always sufficient. They do need to see the information, understand the patterns to really be able to make decisions. When you're looking to do dissemination, things that you need to consider are your audience. A lot of different audience are there for statistical data, and especially for the census data that you're disseminating. There are traditional users who are data scientists, statisticians, who are looking to understand the data, understand the patterns it's indicating. There are also academia, educators, and researchers who are looking to evaluate this data and understand to do further analytics with it. But then there are media or general public who are looking to understand the data from or tell stories about it, or understand to see what's going on in their local communities, their counties, their states with us. And then there are civil societies and developers who are looking to build applications on top of this data, helping people understand or even evaluate it. But then there is also the policymakers. The policymakers are looking to make decisions based on this data or drive policies in agendas based on this data. So there is a lot of different audience for it. So there are different ways they want to access this data, from maps to tables to even take these data as services and consume it. So when you are thinking about all these different audiences, you need to consider what questions they are asking of your question. Do they of their data? Are they trying to visualize it and just look at maps? Do they want certain questions answered? So you need an application that they can use so that they can understand the patterns in there, or they are more sophisticated users who are looking to do something more with it. When we started looking at the National Portals project, we considered all these things in mind, and we designed the tools and templates to assist in back-end optimization of the data publishing and processing, but then also how people will consume it in the front end. So what kind of interface they would like to see or consume this data with. So the overall goal of the National Portal was to really provide a framework for the national portals that has tools in it, that countries can use to prepare and share their data. They have, easy way to collaborate with other all these different audiences seamlessly and easily. They also provide easily accessible interface, as I mentioned earlier, to understand this data and ensure it's easily discoverable, which was also a very key part of our decision. So the outcome of this is a national portal that countries will be able to readily share their data in for national, subnational, and even for global reporting of this data set. So that's the outcome of this. How can you get started? How can you do this? There are desktop tools and ArcGIS enterprise tools that are available from Esri that can be leveraged. But also with this project, we are providing a data dissemination model, some tools, and templates that are available in GitHub that can be easily leveraged for dissemination for it. So all of these are together available to everyone to use to get started with dissemination. Kelly, are we ready for a poll question?
Yes, thank you, Deepti. So in this case, we're going to have two poll questions back to back. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the first one. So everyone should be seeing that question on their screen there, and you can go ahead and select all of the answers that apply. So what we're asking today is, how are you disseminating data today? And again, you can check all that apply. You don't have to pick just one. So if you want to choose them all, you should be able to do so. All right, so you should be seeing those results on your screen there. So it looks like 77% of you currently use CSV or Excel spreadsheets, followed closely behind a website with 71% of you using that. And then we have PDF and the rest falling behind there. So again, thank you for your participation. And Linda, did you have any comments on those?
Just amazing to see how much Excel spreadsheets are still being used. So, but I am liking seeing the 70% on website.
Yeah, yes, same. So thank you so much. And again, we have another one back to back here. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this second one for you. What type of information products do you create? And again, you can check all the answers that apply. So we have infographics, maps, apps and dashboards, web apps, or story maps. So you can choose any of those that apply to you. It looks like 82% chose maps, and then the
Awesome.
rest are pretty close. So we have 49% with infographics, 55% with apps and dashboards. It looks like web apps came in at 41 and story maps came in at 33%.
That's great.
All right, and thank you for that. And then Deepti, I will pass that back over to you. I think we have one more later on during the presentations, and I'll let you continue.
Thanks, Kelly and Linda. Wow, what amazing results. I am very encouraged to see maps as being one of the choices for high choices for dissemination, which is encouraging because we are going to talk about that in Hub right now. So what is an Arcgis Hub? So it's really is a platform that provides sharing, collaboration, and dissemination of statistical and really any information. This is a system of engagement, as we like to call it. It provides users to engage with the data, with applications, and leverage it in a more user-friendly way, in an interface that allows users to, find this content, discover this content, and find what they need as per their needs. So it kind of is a guided tour, almost for users, that allows people to interact with the data in different ways. So we are finding that GIS hubs are really transforming communities. People are using these to engage with the hubs, to organize organizations with stakeholders and with other community activists and participants to really make their data available to the users and let them allow to download this data, save it as they want to, or just interact with in an interactive interface and take away information they want from it. So it's really a rich interface for collaboration. So hubs are really websites that are bridging the gap between your data, your maps, your content, your rich content, infographics, whatever they might be, and the audience that is out there, your stakeholders that are out there, whether they be executive or policy and decision makers, or even general public and citizens. So it's really bridging those gaps between your content and that audience for you. So let me now pass over to Nicole on my team, who can help walk you through what is in a hub site and what you can get from it. Nicole?
Thank you, Deepti. Yeah, so the Arcgis Hub is an easy to configure cloud platform that organizes people, data, engagement tools to accomplish initiative goals. So this can be really powerful for your organization or your country. If you have a lot of different data, you can put that in sites and pages, different content and apps, story maps, web maps. You can also enable users to navigate and find this content through the hub pages. You can create or follow community initiatives. If your country or your organization has initiatives such as Zero Hunger, economic development, you can engage with your community through the hubs in this way. You can also create events for these initiatives. If you have a Zero Hunger event, you can have that displayed on the hub, invite users to attend, get their feedback, and then further track the performance of these initiatives. So in our national portals templates, we use all of these different types of tools to help the country disseminate their data. So I'm going to walk you through the template that we've built out to help provide access to all of those data through maps, apps, different web pages. So here's a high-level overview of that template that we've created, leveraging all those different types of pages, as you see here, pages, thematic pages, different applications such as story maps, experience builders, which I'll walk through a little bit later, and other web maps that we've all connected inside of the hub. to help disseminate the data. And so now I'm going to go into a live demo of the template that we've actually created to help countries show their data and provide it to the community, right? So I'm going to walk you through this template that we've built out and show you how you can leverage the power of the hub to share your country's data with the world. And so the idea is that different users that you have might have different needs. And what's so powerful about this template is that we've designed it to be flexible enough to fit all of these different types of users' needs. So if we start up at the top, this is just an overview of what the site is. You can add some explanation to what the initiative is, what your country is trying to do when it comes to disseminating their data. And if you scroll down, we have this experience builder application. So some users may need to just see the quick statistics or get a general overview of the data. So an exploration of this tool might be the most useful to them. And we can dive a little bit deeper into this later, but here are all the quick statistics. These can all be changed as well, since this is a template. And then if you scroll down a bit, if a user wants maybe a deeper dive into a specific topic or a thematic area, this section might be really powerful for them. So the user may be able to explore the data by population, education, nuptiality. And we chose these topics or categories just to use in this template. But what's cool is if your country has a different set of thematic areas they want to use, topics or categories, these can be adjusted to fit those needs as well. So if you decide that maybe you only need 5 of these data topics, then you can change the template to fit that as well. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, we have this section to highlight some really important stories or applications that might be important to your country at the time. So right now we have some publications, state of the world, population, small area estimation, but these can be anything. They can be publications, story maps, which I will walk through a bit later, dashboards, anything that you want to highlight on the main page. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, this is an area where you can kind of change depending on the need. If you have a special topic that's kind of important during that time, for example, COVID-19, you can add these topics here and display those on the main page for your country. So now I'm going to go back up a bit and show you the template that we've built out for subpages. So let's say you want to take a deeper dive into a specific topic, like population. This subpage template that we've built out can be a useful way for you to show specific topics and allow users to take a little bit of a deeper dive into any specific area. So again, we have a specific layout where if a user wants more of a high-level overview of the data, we have this portfolio application template for them to explore here. And again, this can all be changed to meet the needs of your country. So if right now we're showing a set of population variables by age, total, ratio of males to females, but you can switch out these maps, you can switch out these the variables that you choose to show as well. Then if you scroll down, we have another section for different highlighted data stories and applications. Again, you can put the publications, the dashboard, story maps, other applications that you think are very important to this specific thematic area or topic. So right now we have some population ones as well. And then at the end is another section for you to add other resources that might be important to population. So if your country has different links, different resources that you would like to add, you can change and add those here inside of this template. So those are the two page templates that we've created in the hub that we're going to give to you to change and explore and use to disseminate your data. But now I'm going to go and dive a little deeper into the specific application templates that we've created as well. So if you remember from the main page, we have this Experience Builder application template that we have that allows the user who may just need quick stats, a high-level overview of the data, wants to explore the different thematic areas in a way. They can do that here. And what's cool about this is you can choose and decide which statistics you want to show in these different views. So right now we have adults who live alone, children in care of grandparents, but these may not be necessarily what you want to show. So you can switch these out, change them, change the icons you want. If you want totals instead of percentages, these are all very flexible and can be changed to meet the needs of your country and your organization. And it also allows the user to zoom in, explore different regions, and get that high-level overview of the data. The other application template that we have that kind of does a similar thing for the user is this other portfolio application that we have on the subpage, where you can toggle through different variables. And so right now I'm just going through the different variables that we're showing, the percentage of the population that's above the age of 65, or the percentage of the population that's under the age of 18. But you can go through and change whatever variables you would like to show in here. You can add more, you can add less. And you can adjust the symbology as well. And lastly, I'm going to walk you through this story map template that we've created. Sometimes maybe it's not high-level statistics that a user wants, or even a data table or a map or a layer. They kind of just want to know the story of the data. They want to be walked through what the data means. They want to read the analysis. So something like this may be powerful for them. And so we've created a story map template. This is just using the US Census Bureau's data, but we've created it in such a way that you can adjust it to fit your country. So you can put atlas of insert your country name here, adjust the text to meet what you want it to say, add some images, change the styling. And so in this template, we've laid out some sections for you so you can insert your own story, your own data, and had included some instructions along the way so that you can build like a compelling story map and talk to your data. So as you can see, there's curly brackets in here that kind of help guide you to see where you should add different quotes, different names. And in this, you can add multiple maps as well. You can highlight different geographies for your different users. Zoom into specific areas of interest and tell that story. You can also make these story maps interactive as well. If you want your user to explore different areas, they can zoom to those areas as well. And also we have a map here that just shows by size and color, but you can do whatever you want. If you would prefer just to show a thematic map just by color, you can do that here. Switch these out. So right now we have fertility in the past 12 months by age variables, by census tract. And here as well, you can see that the symbology of this one is different from the previous and broken down by sex. So this is a really cool way to tell the story of your data, guide your user through what's going on in the maps, tell the story by showing different geographies, going through different thematic areas as well. And all in all, this hub template, again, is really flexible. We've laid it out in a way that you can adjust it to meet whatever you need for your country. You can break it down by different topics, different thematic areas. But right now, I'm going to hand it off to Dominic, who's going to kind of go through the data itself and how that processing went.
Thank you, Nicole. First, what specifically did we do to make it easier to various users, country users, and organizations to publish census data to a portal that Nicole just saw? Well, we created a set of tools, procedures, templates, and a data model, and we are providing that set of tools and the data model in a GitHub repository in a public GitHub repository for everybody to use. The tools are implemented as Python scripts based on ArcGIS API for Python and ArcPy. In addition to tools, there is a data structure. Users can use a relational database of their choice for their data. They can put the data into Oracle, SQL Server, Postgres, or they can use a file database in a file system if they don't have a relational database. The entire code is published as open source, and we expect that users will take it and build upon it, that users will add their own indicators, conversion from their own data formats, and maybe contribute to the repository with their changes. So we have community contribution there also. So what is our technical approach? Well, our basic approach is to standardize the microdata rather than harmonizing the tabulated data. I mean, the entire effort is based on standardization of the data, because otherwise it would be very hard for us to create a set of tools that could be reused between different countries. And our experience shows that standardizing the microdata is easier than harmonizing the tabulated data. It is not easy, but it is easier. Why it's easier? Because standardizing microdata presents fewer rules and fewer mappings, and we are standardizing the data earlier. And then from the point where the data is standardized, we can easily just you apply the same process and the same scripts to all of the countries. We are standardizing the data to IPUM's international harmonized variables. So only the national microdata variables that can be mapped to IPUM standardized variables can be used. Of course, that means that our process cannot replace country tabulation, and that was never our intention. Our intention is to provide a process that is easy to use and quick way to publish the to prepare and publish the country data. It is not to replace the tabulation. And that is one of the biggest advantages, because it is quick, it is immediately usable, and the result data structure is standardized, so it is easy to compare the data from one country that used our tools to publish it with a different country that use the same tool, the same tools. We are providing tools rather than services. We are not taking anybody's data. We are putting Python scripts on GitHub repository. Anybody can download them, and expectation is that users will use the tools to publish their own data. That means that microdata does not have to leave the country, and since people will use pre-prepared and well-documented set of tools, the turnaround can be very, very fast. However, that also means that that users have to have a desktop hardware. They do not need to have servers, but they do need to have a fairly capable desktop hardware. They need to have desktop GIS software, and they have to have basic understanding of how to use that software. They don't. The idea of the automation and the tools is to enable users who are not particularly skilled with GIS software to still use it to prepare this to go to this complex process and prepare this very nice hubs and websites, but some basic knowledge of the software is required. We are publishing these tools using a permissive Apache license. That means that anybody can take, modify it, use it for their own purpose, or contribute back to the community. Okay, so what is the workflow that we are planning to that we are supporting here? So the start is with microdata that country collected in some format. Currently, we are supporting SPSS. We expect to support CS Pro and other formats. After this presentation, we actually have a new poll where we'll ask you which microdata format you're currently using. So in the first step, we are standardizing this microdata in standard format. So in this step, we are not standardizing the structure, just the format. The next step, we are standardizing the country microdata that has country variables into IPUM standard variables and standard domain values. To do that, users have to define mappings between their own domain values and IPUM's domain values. That is something that we don't provide. I mean, we don't know, we are not experts for a particular country. We count on knowledge inside the country to map the country variables into IPUM's variables. IPUM's variables are very well documented, and it should be possible for countries to figure out how to map their own data that they understand into IPUM's standardized variables that are well documented and well understood. At this point, we have IPUM standardized and harmonized microdata schema. And from that point on, microdata for every country should be comparable. We understand not all of the countries will have all of the variables. Probably none of the countries will have all of the variables. But those variables that country succeed in mapping, they will be here, they will be comparable. And now we can use the same tabulation process for every country to create tabulation for various administrative boundaries. So in the next step, we calculate the indicators for various administrative boundaries, whatever country has, and we end up with feature class that is a table with boundary shape and with indicators, all of the calculated indicators for that boundary. So as it's implied here, we are going with fairly simple and very flat schema here. The goal is to be transparent and simple. The goal is not to have ideally best normalized schema. The goal is to have the data schema that is transparent, that is easy for users to understand, and that is easy to use without any additional transformations. The next step, so in that step, we have all of the data tabulated, but still in the database, either in a file system or in user's relational database. In the next step, we publish that data into web services. These web services can be either cloud-based or it can be based on on-premises Arcgis Enterprise Portal. And then in the last step, we publish these, we publish views and maps based on that services. Why do we have publishing in two steps? To support both straightforward usage for users who are not very skilled with GIS and they don't know how to create their own maps. After the second publish views step, they will have maps that look perfectly nice and they are usable as they are. The users that are more advanced and that know how to publish their own data can use the feature web services here to publish their own maps with their own symbolization and their own combination of layers. And that these feature layers and maps are then plugged into the portal that Nicole demonstrated in the last slide. Okay, so how does it actually look like? This is the dialog for the first step, loading of the map microdata. So there is a separate tool for every microdata format. We have a tool that loads SPSS data, and we are working on tools for additional data formats. And your input again from the poll after this presentation is going to be very useful for us to figure out which format should we press on. And this will create a microdata table that is in standard format, but it is not in standard structure. Then we have to define the mappings between country microdata variables and IPUMS variables. These mappings are defined as a simple mapping table where we have country columns, countries domain codes, IPUMS, and then mapping IPUMS columns and IPUMS domain codes. Users can find IPUMS domain values and IPUMS variable names on the web on IPUMS International website. Once we have local country microdata and the mappings, we can standardize country microdata, and this is probably the most important part. So this is basically converting the microdata from the country standard format into standardized into microdata with standard IPUMS variables and domain values. Once we have that standardized microdata, then we can finally calculate the indicators. We are calculating the indicators based on grouped into teams. There are hundreds of indicators, and we just found out that expecting users to individually select the indicators is too complicated, so we grouped indicators into teams. Of course, not all of the indicators, not every country will be able to calculate all of the indicators. So we expect that some countries will be missing some of the microdata, and only the indicators that there is microdata to calculate for, they will be calculated. The calculations have been verified, or we are working with the University of Minnesota and UNFPA to verify the calculations. Okay, quick demo. So this is how, this is the second step, how to standardize the country microdata. So we start with a tool here. and we specify the, okay, what is our import, our raw country microdata table, and what is the mapping table. On the left side here, you can see the mappings. Mappings are, so only the microdata that we have mappings for will be actually processed further. We cannot deal with microdata that we don't know anything about. There has to be at least variable name mappings. We don't have to have domain value mappings. For example, here for age, we don't have a mapping because it's just value stay as it is. Mappings don't have to, domain values don't have to be mapped one-to-one. For example, here for Mozambique, they have much more detailed description of how household is getting their electricity, while IPUMS variables have electricity or not. Okay, so we are running the tool now. It is done, and the result of the tool is microdata table, but microdata table with IPUMS variables and IPUMS domains. Then, once we have that microdata table, we can go to the next step. Next step is tabulating this microdata. For that, we have to have also the boundaries, administrative boundaries that we want to tabulate by. And this boundary, so we have it on the screen right now. There has to be ID that's present both in the microdata and in the boundaries that we will use to join our to aggregate the tabulated data and join it with the boundaries. Here we also specify what is our output feature class name. So the result will be a table with administrative boundary shape and all of the indicators that are the result. Then we select the our boundary shape. So here we are going to select the districts. We have to select the names of columns to aggregate by and to relate to the boundary table. So that's what we're doing here. And this is the name of the same column in IPUMS microdata table. Also, we have to provide some additional metadata about the indicators with metadata and tags and so on. We select the theme that we want to calculate, and then we run the tool. Result of the calculation is going to be feature class that is a table with a spatial column that contains boundary of administrative unit and all of the indicators that we selected, all of the indicators that are grouped into a theme that we selected. So now that is turned on, and if you do identify, we see we have all of the indicators here that we are interested in. At this point, this data is still in the relational database or in file database, and in the next step we can publish it. But we can also, users can also create nice thematic maps if they have desktop GIS software. Users at this point can start analyzing and creating maps. Okay, so how to publish the services? It's also a tool to first to publish the indicators as they are, the values, and then publish and then create a nice map out of it. And what we end up is a web map like the one that you have on the screen that users can use directly. So basically, what you see on the screen is direct result from the tool. No additional processing or configuration is needed. But users can also create their own map based on indicators published in this step. Tools can be used either from desktop GIS software, as I showed you. That is probably the easiest way to use them because that way there are nice forms, dialogues, and so on. But all of the tools are also available from the command line. All of the functionality is exactly the same from the command line or from the dialog. And command line enables users to script the tools, to automate execution and so on. Tools can also be used from Python script just by importing the libraries, or from a Jupyter notebook by importing the libraries. Okay, that was it from me. So now I go back to Kelly for the next poll question.
All right, thank you, Dominic. So in this case, we're asking, how are you storing microdata? And I do see the answers coming in. So I'll give it
basically, we are going to use the responses that you provide us on this poll to know what should be our next step. Currently, we have SPSS conversion. We are trying to figure out, should we go with CS Pro now, or should we go with Excel files? So this is going to be very useful for us.
Exactly. Thank you so much. And again, it looks like the majority have voted, so I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and then we're going to share those results on the screen there. So it looks like 80% of you are using CSV, Excel, or other text files. And then, yeah, the rest have fallen behind with SAS or relational database at 37%, and then SPSS following behind that. So again, we thank you for your participation. And with that, I believe I will pass it over back to Linda for some final comments.
Great, thank you so much. So everything that we have talked about here today is based on WebGIS. All of the national portals templates you just saw are based on WebGIS, because WebGIS really is transforming everything. It's allowing us to be distributed, work from anywhere, as we're all doing these days, and be connected and share and collaborate. And that's so important to get our data out there. The Arcgis system allows us to work the way that we choose. It really is comprehensive. As you may know, it's open and services-based, and it's extendable. And it provides us with this smarter way to disseminate data, which is so important today because we're all faced with so many challenges. You know, the demands being put on us for a broader range of products, you know, deliver it, you know, smarter, faster. And yet we have the growing privacy concerns that we have to deal with, as well as oftentimes, you know, smaller budgets. So these are not easy things to balance. And we believe that the national portals work, the templates and things that you've seen here today will help you in this work. With the use of GIS and dissemination, you can begin to become more responsive and speed that delivery of information to decision makers and become more efficient and maybe even expand your capacity. So I'm going to stop there. I want to leave you with some resources. I think, as you can see, we're working really hard to make these tools available based on your needs. A couple of items of note you'll see in the list here, the data models that we mentioned, they can be found already on our GeoNet pages on the Esri community. The GitHub links and documentation will be published to GitHub Esri pages. We also have the Statistics Learn Hub that is live now, and it can be found here at learn.arcgis.com. So a lot of resources out there for you already. So with that, I'm going to stop and I'm going to throw it back to Kelly to lead us through some Q&A. Kelly?
Great, thanks, Linda. And again, all of those resources that you saw on that slide, we will be providing those links to you in a follow-up email. Those will all be posted on with the recording on our Esri community page. So make sure you check within the next couple of days so that way you can get all of those links. And we have just a few minutes here for Q&A, and it looks like we had some good questions come in. So we'll get through as many as we can. Those questions that we don't get to, again, you have an opportunity to ask on that Esri community page where that recording lives. So again, make sure to check your email. So Linda, I will pass this first question over to you. We have a question here from a user. There is no doubt that GIS is important to explain data. How does someone get started in learning it? He's a ranked beginner and needs to learn how to use it.
Yeah, great question. Again, I'll point you to the Learn Hub. Learn.arcgis.com. There's so much content out there to help you get started. And if you just search for the Statistics Learn Hub, we have a curated data path that will help you on your way.
Great, thank you. And Dominic, I'm going to give this second question over to you. Do disseminated products in GitHub draw on credits?
No. So all of the disseminated products if you make them public, so if you share them as a public, you will not occur credits for drawing. So basically, you don't need credits to publish this data. You might incur some minor credit usage just for the data usage, but no. So preparation of tabulation will not occur any credits, and product themselves are just feature services that don't require credits. Now, Hub itself, I will leave to Deepti to respond to that if you need credits for Hub.
Yeah, no, so Dominic, yeah, to explain to that further, as Dominic said, for creation of the content, the indicators and all is not, the feature services do not, but it is when you are allowing people to download the data or access the data, there is data transfer required, and that requires some credits, but other than that, you would not need credits for any of the other functions or features.
Okay, great, thank you. And Deepti, I'm going to throw this question over to you. How do you access national portals? And I believe there were some questions on permission viewings, if the sites are private or public. So can you explain a little bit more on how you can access those?
Yeah, so hub sites, you can create hub sites completely privately. There is different level of sharing capabilities in there. You can share just with yourself, with the organization, or publicly. When you create a hub site, there are many pages you can create, as Nicole walked through, a main page, a sub page, and these are all templates. You can make copies of them and make multiple pages for different topic areas on them. All these pages, as you are ready to launch, you can make each individually public. You can go in phases and steps. And there is also in the hub, there is called a edit mode or a publish mode. So even if you have created a page and you have a section within it which is not ready, you can keep it in draft mode and not share it publicly. So there are lots of different levels of sharing that you can incorporate in there.
Exactly.
Great, thank you. And Deepti, again, we have another question I'm going to throw your way. The Census Bureau template, is that accessible from the Census Bureau website or ArcGIS website, or both?
So it is not available, the template. I think you're talking about the Experience Builder application. No, that template is, we have used Census's data to create that template. It's not available from Census Bureau. It is something that Esri has built. So it is an Experience Builder template. That is our Esri's product, ArcGIS Experience Builder. And within the Experience Builder, you will be seeing that template as an option for you to launch for national portals. So it will be a template within the ArcGIS Experience Builder solution.
Yeah,
Great.
I think it's important to understand where the tools and different components will live. Again, the learning is on the Learn Hub. The tools in GitHub will be in GitHub, and then other tools will be made available, the templates and things, through the ArcGIS platform. So if you're using ArcGIS Desktop, if you're using Enterprise or online, you'll be able to access the templates through there. And again, we'll have complete documentation for this. We'll have lots of information on GeoNet on the statistics main page, so make sure to go there and look.
Okay, great. Thank you both. And Linda, speaking of access and signing in, we have a question from a user here. For users to access the National Portal Hub, must he or she sign in? And what about those users who do not have a license or have no plans to get a license?
Yeah, so this is meant for organizations to be able to use to disseminate their official data, right? So in that case, yes, of course, we want there to be a named user, because an organization, a National Statistical Bureau who wants to disseminate their data will have that microdata behind their own firewall, and they'll want to work with the data, get the data products ready before they share anything to the public, to their citizens. So they will be using the tools to do that directly. Now, Esri does have programs to help where those are needed, whether that's educational licenses if you're a student, or we have our statistics modernization program, which is available to over 100 countries to get access to the technology to do this work. So a lot of different ways for you to gain access to the technology. So if you are interested and need help, just reach out.
Great, thank you. And I believe we have time for one more. And again, all of the questions we didn't get to today, I see some of our presenters already answered them in the chat for everyone, but we will be providing all of these resources for you within that recording location on our Esri community page. So actually, Nicole, I will throw this one to you, and this will be our last question for today. And I believe Deepti already mentioned this, but are we able to restrict who has access to the hubs we create? So for example, I have a project coming up where I only want to share data and maps with my colleagues and our client. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, actually, there's multiple share settings for each of the pieces of content that you create inside of the hub, whether that be maps, applications, different site pages. So you can either make them only available to view yourself, or you can allow them to be viewed by your organization. Anybody that's inside of your organization can view, or you can make it publicly available. Another option is if you want very specific groups of people to view or collaborate on different components of your hub or different pages, you can create groups within the hub, add those specific users to the hub, and then restrict the sharing to those users. So it can be, the share settings can be really flexible, and it definitely is possible to, if you only have a few people you want to access a page or pieces of content, you can restrict those settings.
Great, thank you. And I believe that's all we have time for today. We're at the top of the hour. So again, I did see a lot of questions in there about asking if people will get access to the presentation material, the recording. So again, we will provide all of that for you. So make sure to check your email again in the next couple of days. We'll give you a link to the recording so you can pass to your colleagues or rewatch if you're able to. We'll also have links to all of those resources. I know we threw out a lot of links and data and content there, so we will make sure to get that all to you. You will also have an opportunity within our Esri community site to ask any additional questions. So if you want to continue the conversation with Linda and our presenters today, you can do so. And before we officially close this out, Linda, did you have any final thoughts or comments or anything you'd like to share?
No, just again, come visit us on the GeoNet page, as you're going to find lots of information out there, including those great data models. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it. And thanks to the team for sharing the work.
All right, great. Thank you. And we do have a survey at the end, so I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I want to thank everyone again for joining us. Thank you for your participation in the polls and all of your questions. We really appreciate that. And with that, we will say goodbye and have a great rest of your morning or afternoon or evening or wherever you're logging in from. Thank you.